everybody. Welcome to the Patty G Show. I'm your host, Patty G. I am here with Claire from Young Entrepreneurs Academy of Baton Rouge. We're going to be talking a little bit about education, about cultivating the minds of the younger generations and how they can have their eyes open to what the entrepreneurial point of life looks like, and just all things schooling and what they've got going on, the events. They're just started their new semester for 2021 to 2022. So I'm very excited to hear about that and learn Claire's involvement with it. But before we get started, a big shout out to our wonderful sponsors, Government Taco and Falaya Real Estate. Stay tuned to hear a little bit more about each of them towards the end of the show. But without further ado, Claire, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to get to share about our program with you guys.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to learn more about it. I was introduced via, I guess, contact sharing by Brian Haldane with Talk 107.3. He said, you got to have Claire on your show if you have not had her already. So I said, I'm all in. Like, yes, I've heard of Young Entrepreneurs Academy. I've heard about the great things that y'all got going on. Y'all had some recent publications come out about what y'all are doing and the programs that y'all are pushing out. So I'm very eager and excited to hear about it.
Great.
But before we get into it, I want to learn a little bit more about you, about Claire, about how you kind of got into this role of executive director of Young Entrepreneurs Academy. So let's go back. What kind of a kid were you, Claire?
Oh, gosh. So, right. Well, my background's in education, and I am a self-identified nerd.
Self-identified?
All the way back when I was a kid, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. So that was probably age 5.
So way back.
I never really strayed from that path, that was what I wanted to do. And so that's what I pursued, got a degree in education and another degree in education, and became a teacher. Ultimately moved into administration. So I was an assistant principal at a school, took on a principal role, spent 4 years at a high school here in town. School administration, as I'm sure you can imagine, is it's a very demanding job. And then you add COVID to the mix, and
my gosh, it's just curveball way out of left field.
And I love it. And I think what I love most about the field of education, right, is you're ultimately creating the future, because you're cultivating the young minds, the young people, and I'm local. I'm born and raised here in Baton Rouge. And so it's always been my goal to give back to Baton Rouge and to teach here and be part of this community. After several years working in administration and also having kids and more kids. So I shared with you, I have 5 of my own. It just became more apparent that to really balance and do life well, I couldn't remain in an administrative role. And so I started looking for other opportunities where I could still work in the field of education, working with youth, but in a slightly more flexible capacity.
Right.
And got turned on to the Young Entrepreneurs Academy just this past summer, actually, where they were looking for an executive director to continue growing the program that's now been operational for 4 years. This is our 4th year, so 3 full years. So we're starting our 4th year here.
Got it. All right.
Where I could continue to use some of the skills that I'd, learned and developed as a school leader to apply to the program. But more than that, just to also make sure that we are truly creating learning opportunities for the students that are enrolled with us, and making sure that we're reaching all of the students that are here in our Baton Rouge area too. And, because entrepreneurship is not for a certain type of kid.
Nope.
It is wide open, and we wanted to make sure that opportunity was available and accessible to kids all over the area. So here I am now working with YEA. It's been fantastic. Met a ton of new people. Been able to work with the business community as well. I'll talk a little bit about how we partner up with businesses, not just for sponsorship, but also for professional mentorship with our students, but also still maintain contacts at the school level. So working with teachers who refer students, administrators who are welcoming me to their campuses to meet with students, to tell them more about the program so that they can apply. But that's what we did this summer, was recruiting.
I like it.
We've got almost 70 applications for students to fill a class of 24. So 24 students were just selected.
So it's a selection process.
It is. We do have a selective admissions because, we know that everyone has talent and everyone, can can foster creativity, we also need to see the commitment, because we're going to be asking these young people to do some pretty amazing things over the course of the year. It takes time, it takes commitment, it takes some internal motivation. So we do have a selection process, and we managed to narrow it down to 24 students coming from so we serve the 9 parish region.
Okay.
So we've got, I think, 4 different parishes represented, 15 different schools.
Wow, that's awesome.
Sending us these 24 students who are going to be learning from each other, learning together, but ultimately, over the course of the year, they'll be launching a business. So
really,
I can dig into that.
Oh, wow. So that ultimately right there is just incredible. You have 70 applicants, and you've narrowed it down to less than half of those that applied. So it's like there are kids that want to get out there and learn this different type of mindset mentality from the education system. But like you said, there is a culling process that has to happen.
Sure.
I mean, there's a difference between kids that are just attending and kids that want to be there.
That's right.
Those that are actually eager and want to start something, whether it be their own business or collaborate with somebody and foster an idea and say, hey, let's make this into a business venture in some way we can. I mean, I know right now we're at LSU, we're in their ideation lab. And I know whenever I was here going through the entrepreneurship program, it was obvious to tell who was here just to get the credits and who was here because they actually had a business they were working on. And so it's nice to hear that y'all aren't just, all right, everybody come in, we'll just take applicants, because it is demanding. Entrepreneurship is not easy.
No joke. And we don't pretend like it's going to be easy for the students. And that's part of the application process. We ask them to write essays. They have to do an interview. But ultimately, I'm sure when you ask visitors on your show, like what got you into entrepreneurship, like what was your passion? And it probably started when they were kids, with the ideas that they had, or, odd jobs that they started doing because they wanted to earn money, or they wanted to be a boss or whatever. And you ask kids today, like, what do you want to do? And resoundingly, many of them want to own their own business because they want to be their own boss. They want the flexibility it provides. They want to make money. But there's a lot of work that goes into that to be a successful business owner.
You can be a business owner, but can you be a successful business owner?
Right. And do you even know what that means and what that takes?
What's the difference, right?
And so, we have a vested interest, not just in the education of the students that we serve, but also the local economy that ultimately they're going to be impacting through their business involvement, whether it be as entrepreneurs or as members of the workforce down the road. And so that's part of the motivation, is to say, take the natural curiosity and creativity that kids come with. They're born with it. I mean, how many kids are doing lemonade stands at age 6?
Absolutely, 100%.
We sold bird feathers when I was a kid. Like, we'd go around and collect bird feathers and sell bird feathers. Yes.
More on that later. I'm intrigued.
And that was the end of my entrepreneurial career.
I'm intrigued by the pitch. Are you selling these as decorations? Are you selling these as fishing apparatuses? Or are you just saying, hey, you want to buy a feather? I'm a kid.
I lived around the corner from Country Corner that sold snowballs. And so my motivation was, how do I have enough money to buy a snowball? What can we do? And
it was end goal driven.
Who are our sucker neighbors who would be willing to give us a couple quarters for bird feathers? But all that to say, that was hey, I have a goal in mind, and what can I do to reach that goal? And we want to continue to foster that, but actually to start having them ask the questions like, how are you differentiating yourself from the other bird feather sellers of the neighborhood?
You dip them in wax? They just plain feathers?
What's going to make them keep coming back for your product after you've suckered them into it once? Obviously a little bit more distinguished than that, but we are. So we run all of this after school hours. So our students,
so they're coming after a full day's worth of schooling. Okay, so this is a lot of dedication.
This is an incredible commitment. So we serve students who are grades 8 through 12. So we've got as young as middle schoolers all the way up through 12th graders who are starting to think about college and are applying to.
So age 8 through 12th grade.
No, eighth graders. Eighth graders, not age 8. That would be real tough.
I was like, man, that's
no, but they're they're 13.
I started my entrepreneurial career at 11.
There you go.
So
and many of these they're coming to us with ideas they already have generated, or maybe businesses they've already started to get off the
incredible.
ground. And what we do is, so starting in September, they come to classes every Wednesday. We're here at LSU in the College of Business. And we partner up with instructors from the school and some local entrepreneurs to teach the classes. And what they do is they're learning. They start off with, what is the entrepreneurial journey? What does that process look like? What are the mindsets that you need to have and cultivate? How do you start distinguishing between ideas and opportunities? And then once you start to actually see an opportunity and find that it might be a feasible business idea, putting it together in a really robust plan that looks at, again, competitive differentiation and what do we need to budget for? How are we going to make money? How are we going to get money to get it started? How are we going to sell it? How are we going to produce it? What's the product? What's the service? All of those things. We make it a little bit more interesting too and fun because we got to keep teenagers engaged
and active and still wanting to come back.
Yep. And so, and this is where I'm hoping to be able to continue to grow the program is, but we partner up with, some local startups that are willing to host us for field trips.
Oh,
so
excellent.
Go and see their businesses and how they've started and grown and hear their stories. We bring in a number of guest speakers. So people who are willing to come and talk about their story. That's the great thing about our area is it's ripe for new business.
Yes.
Because we love creativity here and we're so culturally motivated that new things can pop up frequently, whether it's in the food industry or the arts or service oriented. There's just lots of new startups I think happening all the time, and
we're eager to support them.
Yes, and so I've had no trouble finding guest speakers, people who are willing to come and tell their story, partly to share the challenges that they encountered, some of the things. Hey, I wish I knew this before I started this. I wish I had learned more about something that I didn't know. I had this strength, but I didn't address my weakness, and it became challenging. But to also talk about the joys of the successes. It's a good opportunity for them to get their word out too,
Hey,
same way like you are.
maybe you want to come and talk about, or come visit my office of operations. We're looking for creative people. We're looking for intrapreneurial people, entrepreneurial within the business organization.
Right.
Because they want those good ideas. And they also can see those, young individuals at an early age and capture them before they're really, gone down a path of, I want to do this, I want to do that. They can say, hey, look, if you want to come work for us, you can come work for us. You get a job. We know y'all are eager and motivated. Yes, we want you within our workforce. We want you on our team.
Right. And that's one of our ultimate goals too, right? All of our students are going to develop a business. They will launch it by the end of the year.
So they have to develop and launch the business by the end of the semester?
So the end of the year. So we run year long. So we're September through April. So again, it's a big commitment.
It's a full-time commitment.
And so when they're here, they start to work on that business plan. By, January, they're filing it with the Secretary of State's office. They're starting to prepare their pitch for our community pitch investor panel. Similar to Shark Tank, they're going to be up, standing up and delivering a prepared presentation about why they should invest in their business, and they will earn seed funding for it at that event.
Okay.
And then they, start to get ready for how that's going to look beyond that. And then, they graduate in April from our program, but we don't stop there. We actually do continuing education for our graduates as well. In fact, we've got one this week that'll be a little bit more about, recently they did more about growing their brand. This one is going to be about professional networking. It's not what you know, who you know.
Right. Exactly.
And so we're continuing to help them to cultivate whatever business that they've been working on, or they may have decided, that was a good project. I learned the process. Maybe this isn't really as much of a passion area as I thought, or I'm going to spend time prioritizing, but they've learned the skills. They've learned the process. And even if they never go on to run their own business, they're going to be great employees.
Oh yeah, they'll make great employees to one day be executives
Absolutely.
at corporations,
Absolutely.
large and small, or even be able to partner up with someone who had a great idea. That's another great thing, which I'm sure y'all are seeing, is that kids may come in without an idea and say, no, I've got this skill, and someone say, well, great, I need your skill to build my brand, to build my company.
That's exactly
that I'm sure is just absolutely incredible to watch them recognize that.
Yep.
And say, oh, I don't need the idea. I just got to help somebody with
like
their
implement
idea.
theirs, right?
Exactly.
Well, and we promote partnership in our program too. So several of our students will end up pairing up and launching a business together. One of them might call themselves the CEO, and one's the CFO. Kind of depending on their skill set.
You need everyone's skills.
Yep, and so that'll be fun as we, again, we're just getting into the journey for this particular school year. We've graduated 3 classes already, so we have 60 students who have already graduated from our program who are in many ways CEOs of their own businesses. Some of them are actually getting the product started. You might start hearing from them, having them on your show.
Look, if you're an alumnus of Young Entrepreneurs Academy, reach out to the Patty G Show. I'd love to chat with you. So of the 60, how many have created viable businesses that are still ongoing today?
Okay, that's a good question that I can't deliver a stat for you on the spot, but you know what? I'd love to follow up with you on that to be able to share out some of the stories.
Do some of them like message back to you and say, hey, thank you so very much. I'm doing stuff.
This is what we're doing.
I'm happening. That's awesome.
Yep. I mean, I can give you 2 quick examples. We had, one student who is creating an environmentally friendly water bottle. So thinking about, the impact of reusable water bottles, but going beyond just the water bottle, but other, the straw and the utensils and all packaged together. That product should be going to launch within the next few months. So something that he, not only came up with the concept for, but is, been working with production designers and, getting the prototype ready and getting it into production mode. He's starting to think about, how do I get this message out that it's available for purchase,
Right. And then working with like trademarking and patents and all that stuff. Are y'all linked also like with the LSU Trademark and Patent Office?
We have connections with all of, a number of different departments here on campus. We work with the Innovation Park as well. We're actually going to visit the Louisiana Tech Park this week, so
Excellent.
Thinking of all the different ways that we can connect our students to people in the community who are already doing this type of work, or can help give them a little guidance on where to go next as well.
And that ultimately is, like you said, the networking aspect of it.
Correct.
Educating the kids on who is the people you need to know, who are the people you need to know in the community,
right.
and what businesses are already doing something that they can latch on and leverage. And, the tech park, the innovation park, LSU entrepreneurship department here,
right.
They're all doing these things and wanting kids and people to come in and, hey, we've got these resources, we've got these teams, and it's putting them in front of their faces and these organizations to actually utilize the resources and just take advantage of them and to grow something that's truly incredible. Yep.
We've even had connections with the foodie lab here, which is the food entrepreneurship. Yep. And I imagine that we'll probably need to make some connections this year, because I have a number of students who are interested in food-based industries like baking, coming up with products that are related to that. And so, we want to lean on the resources that already exist to leverage the work that they're doing, which is the fun part. And part of my job too is helping them make those connections.
And I mean, like you said, the connections, especially in, the entrepreneurial world, is everything. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to know people, because you're never going to be the smartest person in the room, no. But you better know the smartest person in the room.
Or recognize your own strengths, and also what your weaknesses are, so that you can find the people to fill in the gaps. So that's another area that we been working heavily on this week, actually, is for every student business that is developed, we partner them up with at least one mentor who, over the course of about 6 weeks in the middle of the program, is going to work for 90 minutes at a time, 6 different sessions, providing professional guidance on the development of their business plan, or the financial aspect of their business plan. Both, depending on who you are, if you can do both of those things. And so we're still working a little bit to find those volunteers from the business community to help make sure that our students are getting good guidance, helping them think about the challenges they need to anticipate, asking those good guiding questions so that they're, narrowing down the scope of their business, or, the reality or feasibility of some of the things that they want to do. And, we want them to go through those processes and think about it now, because this isn't a simulation.
It's not. Entrepreneurship is not anywhere near a simulation, because in order to know if it's successful, you have to test it in the market. Mm-hmm. You can pitch it in the classroom all day, every day. You can perfect everything, but until you get in front of that customer or in front of that potential investor, you don't know if it's going to play out. because the investors aren't investing with monopoly dollars. They're investing with their
Right.
money. They know what works and what doesn't work. And if they can recognize an opportunity to put their money in and earn revenue off of, then yeah, they're going to invest. But if you're going to say, look, this will work in a perfectly simulated world, then they're just going to raise their hand and say, all right, what about COVID?
Right.
Next
right.
one.
Here's
Like,
the questions.
yeah.
Right. So starting to prepare the students, so that starts early with fine tuning their business ideas, but then also putting them into some practice situations to pitch in front of each other. We do a mock panel before they even pitch to the actual panel of investors, so that they get readied for the types of questions that are going to challenge them, make them have to come prepared for those typically financial questions.
They want to know where the dollars are coming in and when they're going out.
Yep. And that's complex stuff. Yeah.
It was having to know the numbers off your head is complex
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
Because that's one of their main concerns is great. What are your sales?
Yeah.
How many people have you talked to? How many people said they would buy it once it came to market? And you gotta be able to know all that just as well as being able to sell them on why your product is the next thing.
Right. And too, that's the balance of entrepreneurship. Like, you might be really good at coming up with the product idea, but to also be the face of your product, to also, understand, right, how to connect with potential investors, how to connect with your customers. Like, those are all different types of soft skills that not everyone comes equipped with, but everyone can learn how to grow in them. And so we work on those too. There's lots of practice opportunities for them to make those connections, to grow those interpersonal skills, to grow those presentation skills. So it's all rolled into our curriculum. Our students are getting all of that formation. And we're going to continue to sharpen what we're doing with them, so that, by the time that they graduate with us, they're solid. They're rock solid.
That's
they're
incredible.
going to be running the city, the world. So
that would just be absolutely huge, to have someone from Baton Rouge go through the program and then be running the world, right?
Right.
That would just be the ultimate win for Young Entrepreneurs Academy in Baton Rouge, just having that success story behind it. And have y'all dealt with students who maybe are harder to grasp the concepts than others, and it's okay, you need that extra push, or at some point, do they just walk away from the program recognizing it's not for them, or do you kind of force them to stay for the year?
No. So we have had rare instances where a student hasn't matriculated fully through. And part of that is the strength of our selection process. So we do kind of go through those scenarios of where they might get challenged, whether it's like schedule conflicts, it's we've had athletes come through, right? And they're having to balance the sports seasons. Which is very demanding.
It's very tough.
And making them check with coaches in advance. Hey, if you want to do this, is your football coach going to let you off of practice in time to get to LSU for 5:00 on Wednesdays? And if the ones who are committed and really they go through that process ahead of time and they make it work. And luckily, the schools we've worked with, for the most part, have been very accommodating to recognizing the opportunity that this is for their students. That it's a win-win to support them in both avenues. So been in touch with number of principals this week, letting them know, hey, congratulations, we have a student from your school who's participating. And that's a big deal, so they're wanting to spotlight that for their community, because it's highly selective. And it may just be one from their school who's participating this year. We have 15 different schools represented. So it's...
I know, with only 24 people.
That's right.
That's almost one from each school.
That's right.
A handful of them probably have 2 or 3.
That's it. Yep. I think we have 4 is the most we have from any one school, but they're not even from the same grade level. So they didn't necessarily know each other before coming into the program. So,
and that's also incredible too, is that it's a diverse network of individuals and young people. It's not just all from, one school or 2 schools. No. It's from across, we said it was 9 parishes.
Right. So we serve the 9 parish area. I think this year we might only have 4 parishes actually represented, but we've got them from public school, charter school, private school, virtual school.
Do you have any homeschoolers?
Not this year, but we have in the past. We have in the past. And we've had some, some of those homeschool networks we've been in contact with too. So, and this is a yearly program. So we're going to be looking to start recruiting for our next batch.
Right after this. It's only one year for the students. They don't come back for multiple years.
Correct. So once they've gone through the program, once they are graduates, and they're in our graduate program at that point in time and can access all of those workshops that we provide for them at their discretion. So they're available.
That's incredible. So the mentor process Is that also extremely selective, or is it more of who was willing to volunteer at this point?
Yes. We do want to meet with mentors. So if somebody reaches out and says, "Hey, I heard about your program. I would love to participate," I'm going to want to talk to them, hear a little bit about what makes you equipped for this. Like, what is your experience in entrepreneurship or running a business or giving, financial advisement to a business. Sometimes it's like, "Hey, Patrick, you know somebody, and now I know you. If you say they're good, they're good."
Right.
Because, what we're looking for, but we're trying to also ramp up our mentor support this year too. So in order for them to feel like they can really give everything that they have to give to the students and can do it successfully, we're putting together an orientation and some ongoing support for the mentor. So again, kind of at their discretion if they want it. So if you're someone who maybe hasn't worked with young people in the past, like managerial experience, but it's all adults, and now I'm going to say, "Oh, I'm going to partner you with a 14-year-old girl, like, can you help?" And we have some support for that too. And in fact, one of our, veteran mentors is offering to help with some additional mentor support. So building our own network of
even better.
Professionals within, the organization where they can network with one another too and start to support each other's businesses, because it is, for the most part, entrepreneurs who are helping. And so,
and within that, you're building a community within and of itself.
Right.
So you're going to have not only graduates, but you've got the mentors coming in, meeting other mentors,
right.
And then maybe they could collaborate down the road or say, "Hey, look, why don't we go in together before the pitch competition and just invest in this person's business because we see it, we love it." And it's also, as an entrepreneur, you want to be able to pass on what you have, right? You want to be able to pass on the skills that you've learned along the way building your company, and being able to do that in a mentor role is huge.
Yeah.
And from a young perspective, from a young student's perspective, like having been throughout those years myself and not having, like a system where I can lean on or call to say, "Hey, I'm just running into this trouble.
Right.
Can you help me out? 5-10 minutes. Can we just chat and get it and, work through this?" Having the ability to call on someone during this year and even after is huge.
Sure.
Because it's an invaluable experience that they have, that they've gained for 20, 30, 15, 10, however long the years are, that you're just coming into this brand new, that you don't have to make those same mistakes.
Right. And you get it kind of handed to you. Well, and on top of that, I mean, how many times have you encountered something in your business you didn't anticipate and you're like, "Oh, now I need a tax attorney." Like,
what are taxes?
I don't, that's, that where you can lean on your professional network, be like, "Who do you use?" Or, "Oh, you know what? I met somebody who's another mentor with YEA, who I'm going to go ahead and call up and be like, 'Hey, can you do this? Or do you know someone in your company who does?'" And so that type of networking also for support, because, then you don't have to just like Google.
Well, yeah. And
taxes, help me.
So. Tax attorney, Louisiana. And then you've already vetted them through the mentor process.
Right.
And, so now you're able to provide almost expert level experience to people without them having to go out and find it. You say, "Oh, you need an attorney? Great. Go talk to this person."
Right.
"Oh, you need someone in the food industry? Go talk to this person."
Right.
And then eventually, I mean, y'all are 4 years into it. I'm sure you've already seen a massive network has grown from it. But then over the years, it's just compounding on itself to where now you've got anything and everything. You're the center and the hub for kids to come through and start a business and be able to meet connections with people in manufacturing across seas or people in manufacturing up, around the country, that they don't have to go and spend hours on Google researching,
figuring this out,
like some of us had to do whenever we were going through that.
At least you had Google.
Yes. Like Google and Facebook were key. Well, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn was also huge in sourcing. I sourced a manufacturer from LinkedIn overseas and was like ordering products and developing stuff with samples. It was wonders with the internet and social media.
Well, this would be an example. We had a graduate who is developing a product that is solar energy based, right? How about that? 10th grader building a product that is like built, relying on solar energy, without giving away too much about her particular product. But, she's graduated and reached out like, "I need help with the prototyping. Can you connect us?" And we could find a person with solar energy expertise, or at least somebody who knew enough to be able to give guidance on how to help her take next steps with that. That's the type of level of connections that we've been able to build because of just the strength of the support of the business community here in town, and just the networks that have branched out because of good people connecting us with good people. So that's a pretty cool example of like, well, number one, I was like, what? 15-year-old rocking the solar energy product. Like, and that's really,
their minds are incredible. It's like the endless imagination. They
Well-
see how one product works and then, well, how can I transpose this into something else?
right. And you know, that's honestly something we do terribly as adults is we limit our own thinking because we start to doubt, we start to see the barriers before we even come up with the solutions. And kids don't do that. And if we don't put those limits on them early and we just let them say like, come up with the most outrageous idea you can think of, like, who's to say you can't? Well, okay,
Right.
we'll help you fine tune it, but we're not going to tell you it's impossible. Like nothing's impossible.
And that's 100% right. I mean, how many businesses would not have been started had someone told them, oh yeah, it's impossible.
That's crazy. Right.
I mean, Amazon started selling books in a garage and now they sell the world.
Literally the world. Well, that's, you know, those are some of the things too that we will be working with the students on is not just growing their own business, but how to foster that like creativity and positivity and encourage others. So as activities we'll have the students doing is, you know, giving an idea. And it might be as simple as, oh, we're going to tell you to go sit outside for 10 minutes and just observe for opportunities. Like, where do you see an opportunity that might pop up from something, maybe an irritant or a solution that hasn't been, and come up with ideas. And then we're helping the other students properly give feedback for that. You know, ask the probing questions, tell why you think it's a good idea or what you wonder about it, but giving them also the kind of the tools to be inquisitive about that too, so that they can sharpen each other's tools. So yeah, it's part of the classes. So,
which is, I mean, getting all those kids together to spark creativity, I'm sure is just a blast to see that start to all of them gel towards like halfway through the semester or the first semester, and they're just all knowing each other. They're working together outside of it. But I mean, teaching them also at such a young age the amount of time commitment it takes to build a successful business, to build a successful brand. They're not, you know, oh, I can still play all the sports, I can still do all the things, go to the movies on the weekends, and then just build this company on the side. It's like, well, no, you can't.
Right.
Or if you do, you're going to take 4 times as long as you would have if you just stuck with your guns and actually built it and fleshed it out.
Well, or at least recognize the scale that you might have some limits of scale because of that. If you do want to make it a side project, okay, but like it'll only go this far if you're only putting this much time.
Only going to do one day if you're there for one day.
But that's, you know, again, that's part of some of the like testimonials we want to bring in from our guests and people who have gone through this journey, who maybe said like, oh, this started as just maybe a side project, a hobby I had that then took off, and like lo and behold, it's now my full-time job. Like, you know, I quit my day job to do my dream job, and now this is what it is. And, you know, that's real. That's real too. We hear that a lot. But
100%. I mean, I've countless guests on here have told me it started as their side job and then became their full-time job.
Right.
But time and time again, it was always, it was my side job for 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years, maybe a decade even. And then it became my full-time job. And
probably took that kind of leap of either like making a big investment of like a financial investment in yourself that you had to kind of jump for, or like taking the leap and quitting a job to dedicate more time to it.
Yes.
And that's hard, but we want to try and prepare them for those scenarios down the road too. You know, hopefully they're not going to quit school, not yet, but you know,
right. Finish it out, finish going through high school and everything.
For sure. But you know, I've been working at a school and for schools that are college prep, and certainly there is a lot of value to a college degree. But we can also recognize that, you know, a college degree in and of itself is not the end goal. And that type of robust and rigorous learning doesn't have to wait until college.
Right.
And it may not even be necessary. And I hesitate to say that because I don't want kids to blow off the idea of college thinking that I'm going to hit it big when I'm 18 and start this job. But if you're just going to college to get a degree, or you think that the college degree is going to be the only ticket that gets you somewhere, it's more than that. And there's more opportunities than that.
Yes. And it's exactly like you said, giving them the ability to recognize that a degree is only what it is. It's a degree. You know, I say that I got the pair degree in entrepreneurship and accounting at LSU, and we're here at LSU, you know, great university, and nothing against, you know, a college degree. It is needed in some situations, but it is not the end all be all, right? You know, even going back for additional education, again, it is not the end all be all. There are other ways, alternative ways that you can still become extremely successful, wildly successful without having those degrees, and even going halfway through and realizing the degree program is not something you're going to finish because what you're working on or who you've met, interacted with is the path you want to go.
Right.
You know, I tell kids, which is probably not a good advocacy for that university, is use college as a time of networking.
Well,
meet your peers, meet your professors, learn your professors' names, go to their office hours, pull out as much information as you can from the system while you're here. And really, if you're in a business school or you're in the entrepreneurship program and you have guest lecturers come in, ask them to go to like coffee afterwards. Like just meet and talk to as many people as you can to get all the different sides of
Right.
how they see life, how you can see life, and just how their opportunities are wildly different than yours. And also maybe even a little insight into, oh, wait, you didn't graduate college and you're wildly successful. Now I'm not going to graduate college and then go play, you know, video games or just kind of goof off for 4 years.
Right.
But you were working while you're at LSU, while you're at a university. Maybe I should be working while I'm at a university, you know, getting that experience as well.
What are those other avenues? Right.
Exactly.
Well, and ultimately, all the things you just said are all opportunities to learn, you know, right? So, I mean, you go to college or you go to any school to learn. I think, and this is, again, one of my background in education, like learning happens in a variety of forms. A traditional classroom setting is just one of many, many, many. And so, you know, our program is really kind of busting up the mold of like all learning has to take place in a classroom. Like, absolutely not. Sure, there's going to be some time for lecture in our class.
Right.
They've got to know basic terminology to be able to talk the talk. But the experiential process of, you know, actually writing the business plan, actually going to the startups and seeing, you know, where they went from garage to franchise, you know, all over the country, or, you know, back of napkin, courtside, you know, whatever
right.
it is, right? That, you know, that's experiential. They're learning. And I think it's something that, you know, hopefully schools start to take note of too, right? And in this COVID environment, everything we've experienced where the traditional system of schooling was just blown to bits.
There's no more traditional. It's how do we make this work?
It's time to rethink, and we need to be doing everything we can to rethink how we are setting students and children up for success in the long run. What skills, what tools, what resources we're giving to them in a variety of ways. And so, again, you know, we're wanting to make sure that this program is known to people, so that, you know, as students start to get to the ages where they're eligible for the program, the teachers that work at schools, the administrators, counselors know that we exist and that we are available to any student who's coming with the mindset, with the curiosity and the creativity and the commitment, and the willingness to learn, that, you know, we could be an option for them, and that it's not, you know, there is a tuition involved. We have tons of scholarship money we make available to students, anyone, so that that's never going to be a barrier for them.
Right.
Because the entrepreneur comes from any demographic,
any and all backgrounds,
any demographic, and so we want to make sure that we're reaching to all of them and an option for any kid who wants to come through.
Yeah, and having teachers, I mean, you're able to recognize. I mean, I know you in your teaching experience can recognize the children who are just a little bit different than the rest.
Those out of the box thinkers.
They're out of the box thinkers. You know, like, yes, they ask you a question on an exam and you read the answer and you're like, that's nowhere near the technical answer, but I see where you're coming from.
I think about the ones who often get out of class more than they're in class, right? They figured out all the ways to like not to be in class, but yet somehow are still successful in your class just enough. And it's those, again, they're really creative.
They're creative, and you can see what they're doing with their time. You know, they're either, I mean, I was in high school, I was selling milk to a homeschool family because we had dairy goats and we had extra milk.
Sure.
You know, and I was like, all right, I got extra milk, extra eggs. That's what I'm doing. I was bringing to class like cartons of eggs and, you know, gallons of milk and selling them in class.
Opportunity. Yep.
Yeah. Some people learn about physics or something, whatever the subject was.
As long as you can regurgitate it for a test, right?
That's right. Memorization and then regurgitate onto a piece of paper.
No, I think at least I can say we're moving away from a lot of that in the education landscape, but it's, again, this very hands-on learning that our students are getting through the academy, that hopefully are going to make them successful in their ventures, whether it be this business that they launch through our program or something in the future, because they will understand, how to see the difference between, again, an idea and a real opportunity, how to differentiate themselves, how to set up a personal brand, I am this, like, people are not just buying my product, they're buying from me, and knowing how to represent yourself on our platforms.
Why are they buying from me?
Yeah.
Is it something I'm doing? Is it something a product's doing? Or is it just that they want to see me succeed?
What is it? Right. But recognizing what it is and capitalizing on it. And I think often about, our kind of this new world that we're going to be facing with the NIL deals with athletes and helping them, right? There's got to be people helping them understand how to represent themselves. It's just not necessarily your star athletes who are going to be the most lucrative deal makers.
Any and every athlete, whether they're successful on or off the field, can come down to that personal brand, and educating them on how important that is from every second you're on the field, court, room, or off.
Right. What you're saying in the interviews afterwards, what you're putting on your social media channels.
How you're interacting with kids in your classes. Yeah. Like, are you the one that walks in and everybody goes, oh, athlete, ABC is here, and they just snap the whole course, and then you end up with one of them tweeting a picture of it, then it gets out there, right. And your sponsors are like, why are you doing this?
Right.
We're paying you money to get an education and play the sport, at this amateur level. What's happening?
Right.
And stop that before it happens. And then you want the, what is good press? How valuable is good press?
Well, it only takes one little blip to undo a whole lot of good. So, but we're not going to go too much into that with our program, but it is something that we'll at least touch on so that they understand kind of the impact that personal brand can have, not just their company brand. Though, speaking of their company brand, like that's one thing that they get through the program. They get professionally branded company logos and
that's incredible.
And, right. We work with a number of graphic designers who volunteer their time and expertise to create an image or a logo or a brand for the businesses based on the students' guidance. They'll give them some details.
They've got it in their brain.
Yeah, we're talking like progressive or classic, something modern or a little more, retro vibe, what colors they like, who they're, catering towards. And then the professionals come up with something that represents that. And then they have it, to use in the future. And so that's a pretty valuable resource that they get to walk away with at the end of the program. So put it on their business cards, whatever they're going to use it for. But
yeah, if a freshman or junior or sophomore in high school comes out and they give you a business card right out of the gate with a professionally designed logo, you're like, okay, I'll listen to what you have to say.
Tell me more about this.
Yeah, right? what is this feather business you speak of?
So probably, we're not going to try to promote the feather business so much here, but there's all sorts of like jewelry, that's going to be built on nature. So who knows? Maybe if I went back to feather collecting, could launch something very different.
Maybe so. So with the dynamic of these students being at such a young age, how can kind of parents keep an eye out, or maybe not, I guess, influence their kids to think outside that box more from a younger age to say, hey, look, how can from the parents' perspective be more encouraging, saying, look, you don't have to go to college, but check out, YEA first. Before you write off college, you're like, I'm not going to college, I'm being an entrepreneur. Why don't you go to this program or speak to these people just so you can maybe cultivate your brain a little bit more to thinking that way, and they can help you out a little bit. What would you say, like, the parents who have a child that they can see as clearly
this is their thing,
not the normal mold, and they're going to go off and do something entirely different, entirely creative?
Yeah. So because our students are still in school, we do make sure that we're keeping our parents in the loop of everything that's happening too. So they're included on all of our communication channels. So they're getting to see the process happening and unfolding as we go as well. We try to put a lot of that out on social media too, so that, the general public can see kind of the processes that we're going through. But I think for parents, and speaking as a parent, one way they can really foster the productive mindset towards entrepreneurship or whatever their future lies is just make them narrate what's happening in their own worlds, right? Like if my kids are asking me to buy things for them, I stop and make sure that they understand where money comes from, this plastic card is not magic.
There's no tree in the backyard that's growing money.
Where is this money actually coming from, and how, why, if I want more money, I either have to work more work differently, work somewhere else, whatever it is. And so how, those kinds of things that even at a very young age, it's not just about like, oh, I'm going to own my own business so I can be my boss and nobody can tell me what to do anymore. Cause that's very alluring to a kid, right? Like I don't want anyone else to boss me around. So I'm going to own my own business.
And until you tell them, yes, but you have customers.
Well, and then you have to boss yourself.
Customers will boss you around.
That is so true. And then those are things we even talk about too. Like you're never really your own boss. Right. Yeah, you're beholden to somebody and something. But that's things that parents can help that kids to start to understand now, and thinking and helping them to see the hard work too. So like if if you are going to small businesses, you're shopping, local, shopping small businesses, and making that really clear. Like, right, we're going to Red Stick Reads to go buy our books, and not to Barnes and Noble. No offense, Barnes and Noble, but we might articulate that choice specifically to say like, hey, you know what,
the importance of supporting small businesses.
We want to make sure that this business thrives and that they do really well, and we love that they make it really personal for us too. And like if you say I want a book like this, they're going to find something for you, or they're going to order it for you, and that's a big deal. And we know their names, as opposed to you could go to Barnes and Noble, you can find lots of things, but nobody there is going to ask about you when you come back.
Yeah, no one's going to ask, how's your family doing?
Be like,
how's your small business
Hey, did
doing?
you read the second book of that series that you bought the last time you were here? Those kinds of things. Coffee shops, like where we choose to get our, lattes from. But those are all ways that parents can start, if they see that spark in their child, can start to foster the thinking and the questioning and some of the learning too. But no, I would also just encourage them never to discount like don't predict the path. Right. So it could be they very well could start their own business. Don't poo-poo that idea. That could be a great idea, but also let them know that there's lots of different ways that they can go about learning, and they could explore all of them.
Exactly. And like you said, it's not classroom learning is that one element of learning. There's so many other varieties of learning and educating not only kids, but adults, hey, if you want to have a career switch, maybe look in the entrepreneurial world. But we're starting to get towards the end of the show. Yeah. And we have a set list of questions we like to ask people. All right. And the first is, what is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Ooh. Despite my thriving sales of feathers. I honestly, though, I think being willing to let like spontaneity or divergent thinking still be factors in decision making. I got into like practical adulthood, and everything is very calculated and risk managed and planned. And I mean, I think I spent 30 minutes just organizing my calendar before this, like who has practices when, where, and
that's very important though.
Well, what dinner are we going to plan based on when we have to be here or there, but going back to, as a child, it was very much like
whatever you want to
have
do.
an idea, go with it. Yeah. I want to do this, let's do it. And not limiting that thinking. I wish I let myself do that more often.
I love that. Yeah, I think we could all use a little bit of a break every now and again from just such a structured, tiered approach for everything.
So responsible.
Every penny's accounted for,
mostly
doing all this stuff. Yeah. But what are 3 lessons you've kind of learned along the way? You've been in a teaching role from a general, classroom setting to then becoming, assistant principal to then principal to now being executive director, teaching entrepreneurs. You're not teaching, science, not teaching math. You're teaching entrepreneurs how to possibly run their own business now. So you've had a wide variety over your career. What kind of have you picked up along the way? Maybe 3 little lessons.
All right. So I think it's still, I still like to focus on like keeping the end in mind, right? What's the outcome? What are the goals for the outcome? And so whether that be a lesson plan in a classroom, whether it's, what's end goals for a school, right? Big metrics that you're measuring, or it's how do we make sure that this program is really successful and rigorous and efficient and effective, and that we're reaching a diverse group of students across the 9-parish area. It's the outcome, thinking about what the learning outcomes are at the end and keeping those at the front. So planning with the end in mind.
I like it.
I definitely would want to keep carrying that forward and plan to, because that's how I think.
Entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah.
Plan with the end in mind.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's a different path. And, my background's really history and English, so I would not call myself an entrepreneur. But that maybe is my second lesson is the more I've learned about the entrepreneurial mindset and some of those skills and competencies, the more I can see applying them even to my own experience. So while I'm no longer school-based as a school administrator, I have opportunities to consult for schools as an independent contractor, and
right.
what actually do I need to start thinking about if that could that be a business, could that be something that, but if I were going to do that, like really being mindful and intentional with how I create those opportunities for myself. And so that's definitely a learning takeaway that I'm actually learning as I go through this process too. You're making me come up with a third one. I think, entrepreneurship is hard, but
recognizing how hard it is.
It is hard, but it's also, there are things you can learn. I think that there's some innate dispositions that people have to come to the table with, but there's also, there are skills that can be learned. So, if you come with the curiosity, you've got some ability to think innovatively, then you can learn the other competencies to be successful, even if you aren't necessarily super organized or financially minded or, understand marketing. You can learn those things.
Right. They're stepping stones that you can take along the way and be taught as you kind of go down the path.
Yeah. So I guess it's all about learning.
But it's very important though.
Yeah.
You don't just dive in feet first and hope,
right.
There's a bottom. you got to have some type of an idea as to where you're going to go and what you're going to do and how the outcome will be, but then also recognizing it's an always learning process throughout your life.
That is true.
I love it.
There you go.
So what is something you love about Baton Rouge?
Oh, gosh. Lots, really. I mean, I have pretty much every day there's something I grind my teeth at too, but that's only because I love it so much, right?
That's right. We love it here.
I think what I love the most is I think family. Right, my family is all here, and I grew up here, and we're generations back, Baton Rouge. But it's not just like family, but your friends become family because
100%.
It's like 1 degree of separation. I'm pretty sure if we talked long enough, we know somebody in common. At least one person in common.
Brian Haldane.
Yeah, well, there you go.
We've already got that.
Didn't take long, but that's pretty much any case. Like anybody I talk to, it's like we maybe are just meeting. We're going to find somebody we know in common. Just 1 degree of separation, and
absolutely.
That's Baton Rouge, and that's what I love about it too, because it's a small town city, but you still have opportunity, and you still have variety, and you still have convenience. You also have kind of the natural beauty too. So you get it all. You got to deal with the hurricanes, and you got to deal with the humidity.
That's all part of it. But we're
getting
into the best season.
Traffic, but
traffic. Yes.
I'm reminding myself that when I'm sitting in traffic, if I have my kids in the car with me, it's opportunities to spend time together. It's bonding time.
That's right. It's 100%. It's the bonding time in the car. That's the important part.
Remind me that every day.
So for the final question, what can I do to help you?
Oh, this is one great thing, right? Help me get the word out, not just to students, like hopefully maybe some parents are listening or some educators, but the local business community too. How can they support us? We do have sponsorships available. So we have scholarships that we provide to make sure it's accessible to students. Be a sponsor. Maybe you are a professional and can give some time as a mentor. Maybe you have a story, you want to share it as a guest speaker. You hopefully, I would imagine, you have lots of listeners who are in this world and can get involved in some way and can help us spread the word so that we can continue to thrive as a program and serve students year over year over year, and end up with hundreds and hundreds of graduates who are going to impact not just our local industry and community and economy, but span out. And we'll have that person ruling the world. It'll come.
Oh, they'll come through there. It's just a matter of time.
It's gonna happen. So yeah.
Well, I'll do what I can to help the program grow and continue. And
thanks.
Maybe we can chat about some time devotion and all that stuff as well.
Yeah.
So thank you so very much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
I'm well versed in YEA and everything that's happening. It's very exciting stuff.
Well, you'll have to come to. We have our CEO roundtable in January. We'll have our community pitch in March. our graduation in April. And those are all, you are welcome to come to all of them.
Excellent. I will come where I'm allowed.
Yeah, great. We'd love to have you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so very much, Claire,
It's
for
been
coming
great.
on the show. And thank y'all, everybody else, for listening or watching, whatever platform you are consuming this on. I really appreciate it. I know the guests do as well. If you are interested as a parent, or you're interested as an educator, or even you're a business owner, be sure to check out Young Entrepreneurs Academy of Baton Rouge. Reach out to them on all their social. I mean, they're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, I think, and Instagram, and just reach out to them, even if through a DM or an email, and just say, hey, I'm interested. How can I help? I'm sure they would appreciate anything and everything that you can give them to not only make sure their program grows and just continues, but also your time is very valuable as a business owner. You've got stories, you've got lessons that you can teach these young minds, and maybe one day they'll be either a replacement for you and you can retire, or they'll be a great investment that can bring you in some revenue later on down the road. So thank you all so very much. And thank you also to the two lovely sponsors that make this show possible, which is Fly Real Estate, a local real estate app developed right here in Baton Rouge. Barrett Blondo is doing wonderful things in the community. He is helping people achieve their dreams by allowing them to cut costs and, save along the way. And also Government Taco. We just recorded our 100th episode over there. If you have not seen that episode, go check it out. The ambiance and just the aesthetics of that place is truly incredible. And they have, their Thirsty Thursdays, which is happy hour all day, every Thursday. They've got new tacos of the month. Go over there, talk to Jay to Cody right behind the bar, or Slan Tacos. Tell them you heard about them on the Patty G Show, and they'll be sure to take care of you. Thank you all so very much. This is the latest rendition of the Patty G Show, episode 101, with Claire from Young Entrepreneurs Academy. Y'all have a good one.